Yeah, Perri, I'm not sure if anybody else is experiencing this, but Instagram's been down for a little bit and Facebook Messenger is not working. So hopefully it's not like spreading to Facebook
You
too.
know, it's
But
funny. I meant to say, I just sent a message to Ernie on Safari. It wasn't working, but on Chrome it did. So that's interesting. Yeah, that you say
yeah,
that. So keep an eye on that. All right, guys. So we all know why we're here today. The whole goal of today is systemizing communication, getting your team on the same page. Now, the reason why I said let's turn on some of these cameras is because I want this, and Ernie and I were talking about this. We want this to be an interview. We want this to be an interactive session, so to speak. We're going to go over a training that I did specifically with our team because, you know, when I kind of stepped out of the role of being a school manager, operator, head instructor, chief instructor, or whatnot, I got the opportunity to go to different schools and kind of just do some analysis and see how the schools are doing. One of the biggest things I found from a spectator's point of view, just being that fly on the wall, is that the people on the floor were doing their job on the floor. The people in the office were doing their job in the office, and the parents were doing their thing. But there wasn't necessarily that synchronicity that we all look for or hope for when it comes to running the school. Now, let me ask, give me some feedback here in the group. I did post that poll earlier on in the week about from a scale from 1 to 10, where everybody was. Chat, give me a chime in right here in the chat box. What you were, 1 not so good, 10 being pretty much perfect. Where did you fall into that at your school with your team? Dan McGraw, 3. He's the only one that voted. Okay, Dan McDougal, 5, 8, 6, Master Bolts, 5, 5 getting better, great. 4, 3 to 4, 4s, 7. Guys, regardless of your number, even if you're a 10, just hearing this stuff is important, just so maybe you pick up one little thing that takes you to a 10 plus. All right. So let me pull this up because what I titled it back when I did it a few years ago. Hey, I'm gonna mute you here real quick. There we go. Is being aware of who's aware. So at the end of the day, guys, the communication has a lot to do with awareness. Obviously, there's self-awareness involved in that, and making sure you communicate what your message is and not confuse your audience, whether that be your team or whether that be your students and the family members. But also being aware of everybody else in the school and their responsibility. So I'm just going to read this over, and then we're going to, like I said, we're going to bounce back and forth, have a little dialogue here. So being aware of who's aware. A head instructor or chief instructor or lead instructor, an assistant instructor, and a program director or manager or office person all have very unique and integral roles in the daily operations of a martial arts school. While each role has a specific and direct focus, we have to realize that sometimes attention needs to be directed in multiple areas. The key is being aware of the whole picture while class is going on. Can we all agree that that's spot on, right? There are 5 important zones that need attention. The head instructor, or that lead instructor, that's one zone. The assistant instructors, that's another zone. Your program directors or managers, whoever that office person is, that's the 3rd zone. Family in the lobby, moms, dads that are sitting there. And then the students on the floor. So those 5 zones are extremely important. There needs to be awareness and attention interspersed between each group too. Knowing that there's only so much we can control. The instructors and program directors are what we can directly control on our end. But I kind of tend to think you could also kind of control your parents a little bit too on some level, and the students, just based off of things. No, you're shaking your head. No, sir. You can do it. I promise. You can do it. Use the descriptions below to guide your team members on knowing exactly what's expected of them. I'm going to stop the share real quick. So with that being said, guys, do we all kind of approach our everyday, and you can either, I got a question from Mr. Manelli. Were we supposed to download this document from somewhere? No, you didn't. I haven't sent the link yet. It'll be in the group afterwards because I just want you to stay on page with me, and then I'll give you this to follow up with afterwards. So we've got to approach, and let me ask you guys, do you approach each day when you get into the swing of things with that mindset of I'm not just in charge of what I'm doing right here in front of me, but I've got to be aware of those other areas of the floor as well. Okay, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down that you do approach your days like that. On the flip side, does anybody find themselves overlooking those things sometimes? And a little bit of some of this. Okay, yeah, that's normal, guys. Listen, we know what happens every single day. We come into the school. There's that routine that we kind of fall into, right? Where we know that come 4:30 or whatever your first class starts, come 4:30, my first class starts. I've got to be there, ready to start the class. And sometimes we can get into that. I don't want to call it a hamster wheel, but if you guys know what I mean, we get moving. We're in that routine, and we sometimes stay one track focused, and that's why it's important. I'll tell you a quick story. I remember when I first came to Orlando, I was working with Mr. Silverman. He kind of got me down. I was going to college in Tallahassee, right, Shelby? Tallahassee. Shelby's from Tallahassee. That's why I say that. I was going to college in Tallahassee, and he kept calling me. He's like, "Hey,
we like to call it Tallahassee."
Tallahassee. Okay. So I was up there, and he kept calling me to come down and work for him. And long story short, he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I came down to Orlando and started working at his schools. And it was kind of at that time he had 2 schools and was just about to open up his third school. This is back in 2000, and I remember one of the first things that he used to do these instructor trainings or team meetings, and one of the first things he ever told us was, you've got to be aware of every single thing that's happening in the school, especially, in my position, I was leading classes. I was that head instructor type. So he said, every person that walks into your school, whether you're teaching class or not, you should be able to see who that is, who's coming in. Maybe you say hi to them and know exactly what should be happening next, whether it's with that person or with the program director. And so it got me thinking as an instructor a lot to make sure I'm in tune with all aspects of the floor. Let me move on here to the next portion of this. So who needs to be aware of what? So I broke this down. You'll see I broke it down into head instructors. And again, when I say head instructors, I'm really talking about the people who are leading the mat at that time, whoever's that lead instructor. Head instructor, program directors, and assistant instructors. So head instructors, who do we need to be aware of? Of course, we need to be aware of our students. So being attentive to each student on an emotional and physical level. Make it a point to leave each student with some type of praise for his or her technique or efforts. Also, take the time to give them something that they can work on to get better. Scan the floor to make sure everyone is on the same page with the lesson being taught. So I say this, and hopefully this is not too basic, but guys, we need to make sure that we're not so focused on the curriculum and the lesson plan at hand that we forget that there is an emotional element to what we do every single day, right? We're constantly creating connections. And if you've ever heard any of the MAIA consultants talk about creating rapport, you know that that's probably one of the most important things that we can do. As instructors, head instructors, or even assistant instructors, that's so important on a daily basis. So we're teaching our lesson, but did I let that student know how exactly they got better today in class? Or did I make sure they left with a smile on their face? And if they didn't have a smile on their face when I bowed everybody out of class, did I take the time to either address it myself or have one of my teammates or my program directors address it as well? Ernie, is there anything you want to chime in on that before we move forward? Unmute real quick.
It'll help if I turn my mic back on, maybe.
There you go.
Well, it's true, because I came up in a very traditional, martial arts, which most people on here have background. The lesson didn't vary very much. You did the same thing over and over and over, and that's how you got better at it. And whether you liked it or not, But now, we've all taught classes, and I've taught classes where you have a game plan, which is great, but you have to feel the energy in the room with the parents, with the students. And sometimes you just got to, break free from it. But
sometimes you got to throw it out, right?
Yeah, just like if you're doing a forum and they're just like, oh my God, not again, you You just got to be able to, be well enough schooled to get something more exciting. All right, forget it. And a lot of times when I talk, I learn more from the parents. And this is before COVID, we were allowed to have all the parents in, but you can learn a lot from watching the parents, looking at their expressions. You can tell if the child's doing great, they'll be like, yes, that looks good. You can tell if the child's because, you have the moms and dads are like, put your hands up, put your hands, they're kind of doing that. And then, to, cue in on that child, come on, put your hands up, and then they see it. So you got to be able to break away from your plan as well.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, I'm going to go over these different zones. And then we'll talk about how do we implement this and systemize it, because that's really at the end of the day what we're all looking for is how do we systemize this. And I'm also sending somebody a Zoom link because they can't find it, so I'm helping them out. Oh, you are in here, Miss Julie. Good to see you. All right, sorry, I just sent you the link. All right, so you found it. All right, let's go back to the sheet. So we talked about students' family. One of the most overlooked parts of being an instructor is the engagement with families in the lobby. This is so very important because having them anchored into your program as a inspector now allows you to have better retention over the long haul. Make sure parents are in tune with what's being taught on the floor. Have them be active in the class as judges or bag holders. The more interaction, the better. Also, read body language of those, like Ernie was just saying, in the audience. If you see someone with negative body challenge yourself to make that change. Make sure everyone is having a good time. That includes the parents. Now, guys, whether we're in a state where you can't have parents in right now, did everyone see a black screen, or did you guys, that was all black screen? Unbelievable. All right, I'll pull it back up again. But it just said what I just said. So in case anybody was wondering. So you're good. You didn't miss anything. I just said it. So where did I leave off? Let me pull it back up and see if you guys can see it. Oh, making sure everybody's having a good time, and that includes the parents, right? This goes back to, and this is one of the things I harped on when I was going to these schools and doing evaluations is there's so many instances where there's opportunities missed to educate your families, the people that are sitting in the lobby, on what's actually happening. We got to make sure, we can't just assume that the parents think that because their child's doing martial arts classes or because they're doing, their loved one is doing martial arts classes, that they're automatically improving. They don't necessarily know what to watch, even for people who have martial arts experience in the past, because we've all had that mom or that dad that says, oh yeah, I did martial arts. I got my black belt back when I was 17. I know martial arts, but they may not know the way that we do it and the way that we can impact people's lives. So you've got to make sure we take the time to address them. Now I remember what I was talking about, whether we're in a state that you're back to normal, kind of Florida's, we're kind of back to normal. We can have people in class. Give me a no if you don't have parents back in your school yet. Type in the chat box. All right, Mr. McDougal. Okay, so you don't have families in yet. Very limited. Awesome. Guys, I say awesome, not in the sense that that's awesome, but we can still have that opportunity. Students, not spectators. Got you, Mr. Bolts. Not until the new building, Mr. McGraw. Okay. Yeah, guys, this is, so we've got to make sure we adapt. I've had a lot of people have to kind of pivot the same way we had to pivot when it came to teaching online classes when everything got shut down. You got to pivot in the way we address this. So a couple things that you can do, right? I know that some schools who have no parents allowed in the school, they've gone to the extent of doing kind of like a closed circuit, right? So they're filming their class from inside their school so the parents can watch it. Give me a thumbs up if you're doing that. Oh, Miss Will is still teaching outside. Thumbs up if you're doing kind of like a closed circuit television where parents can watch maybe in your Facebook group or maybe even in a Zoom meeting like this. So if that's the case, guys, still a great opportunity for you to interact with these parents and let them know specifically what they should be looking for. But just like I'm asking you guys to chime in and ask and give me your feedback, that's what we should be doing in those groups so they feel like they're engaged in the class as well. We're teaching via Zoom. The parents also used to watch. Awesome. We have 34 seats in the viewing area, and they're usually filled. That's like I said, state of Florida. We kind of opened up pretty quickly with stuff like that. So we do belt tests like that, but not classes. Gotcha. We're fully open. So yeah, guys, if you're missing that parental element, there's ways to get through that. Open with Zoom backup. Yeah. All right. So again, key, getting parents involved as the head instructor. Your assistants. Can you guys see this now by any chance? Or is it black again? We're good? Assistants, before the classes get started and throughout the course of the night, make sure you communicate with your assistants what exactly you expect from each one of them. Give them a clear goal for the night, such as being a good finder with each student. Remember, though, you must inspect what you expect. So this goes with assistants. This goes with your program directors. You need to have a powwow, at least at the beginning of the day before classes get started, with the people that are going to be helping you out that day. At least. I recommend with those assistants before each class, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to just get everybody on the same page, because, again, this goes with where we're at our schools. We have nominations that we have for upgrades. We have people who are on trials that we need to make sure that they're getting attention. And I've got to I got to rely on my team. I know some people raised their hand or chimed in the group that they're a one-man show. Is there anybody like that here? One-man show. Do you have anybody that helps out, maybe leadership or advanced students, Mr. McGraw?
Son helps out when he's available.
Okay, well, okay, so you got a team member there, even though it's mainly you. So this is important. You've got to rely on your team, guys, because the moment we start, especially if we have a team, the moment we start to try to tackle everything on our own, I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's going to be very hard to make it duplicatable, right? So if we want somebody else to jump in on the floor and lead that class that day, we want to make sure that the systems are in place to do it. So setting up that meeting at the beginning of the class is important. Ernie, anything else on that?
Yeah, and that's key, is making sure everybody's on the same page and know exactly what their task is. And even, and I know we talk about nominations and things like that. We have the list up. But, maybe we got a call during the day, and the parent was saying, and this is something that's always fell through the cracks. Oh, he doesn't want to come to class, or he didn't want to come to class yesterday. We want to make sure the instructor knows that, and the assistants as well. So to give them more attention and make sure they see what's going on. Because we all know, a student doesn't just up and quit one day. There's signs leading up to it, and this dates back to, making sure the parents know to let us know immediately. But there's been times that I know that people have called the school, maybe during the day, or even left a message. That's the worst, and they wrote it down on a Post-it, which I hate. Somebody else wrote in the comments they hate Post-its. But, but you forget to tell the assistants or the instructor. And then what happens? That kid goes and leaves and has another miserable class, or something's happened and we didn't correct it.
Right. Yeah. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about you've got to be aware. And like you said, Ernie, it's not just all of a sudden that this happens. It's usually a progression of little things that we've got to make sure not just you are aware of, but your whole team. All right, let's move on. And by the way, if there's any questions in there, you feel free to raise your hand in the group or just chime in a question there. So program director, communication between the head instructor and program director is vital to school growth. If you have a student who's on a trial or trying out an upgrade program, you need to make sure you're letting the program director know that family needs to be talked to. With repetition, you could create nonverbal cues that signal the program director to do what you need them to do. So the message here, guys, is head instructor, you're kind of like an orchestrator. Is that no? Conductor. Who orchestrates? Do you orchestra? You guys know what I'm trying to say here. So you're no, Ernie says no, I don't know what you're trying to say. You're trying to be in tune with not only what's going on in the class, but you've got to be in tune with your students. You got to be in tune with the parents. You got to be in tune with the assistants and the program directors. And all of these things got to work hand in hand with each other. But above everything, the only way that we can make that happen is by having clear lines of communication. And it starts not in the busiest time of your day. That's going to start when you have that quiet. You have the ability to sit down with your program director, your manager, and let's come up with a game plan. If we really break it down, you've probably heard us talk about this before. At the beginning of each month, we should have a set of goals of what we're trying to accomplish, whether that's financial goals, whether that's new student goal, whether that's upgrade goal or renewal goals. And I've got these goals in mind on April 1st, we'll call it, no joke. And then everybody's got to be in tune with how we're going to, what it's going to take to get to that. We break down and divvy up what the responsibilities are and how we as a team can accomplish that together. All right, let me move forward. So now program directors. This is for you, program directors, managers, front office people. Here's who you need to be aware with, starting with the head instructor. So the program director's job is twofold. You've got to be the extra set of eyes for the instructor off of the floor, as well as the first point of contact for the students and families entering and leaving the studio. Pause on this right here. This is key. I talked about the 5 different areas that we need to focus, but there's certain prep zones that we need to be aware of. And one of the biggest places that we've got to make sure we have awareness to is that entrance. Everybody that comes in should be welcome. There should not be one person who walks into your school that just comes in and just waits for class. So that's something that an instructor could do. I know I took pride in every time I was leading a class, every person that walked into that school, I waved and said that person's name. That was a point of emphasis for me as an instructor, because I knew that was going to help with the rapport. That was going to help with the relationships that I'm going to try to create with these people. And at the end of the day, that helps with the attrition, which I was able to keep I thought I had a pretty decent average attrition rate of like 2.3 to 2.5 attrition. So guys, it's important, right? But the program director can be a really powerful source for that. We have a lady by the name of Miss Kathy LaBeouf. She's been with the company for years, and she's got that motherly feel to her where somebody walks in, she says the highs. When somebody leaves, she makes sure that nobody's leaving with a frown on their face. I can't emphasize how important that is right there. Nobody should leave with a frown on their face. Because if they do, that means something happened wrong. It could have been something happened wrong with the parents. The parents yelled at them and said, no, we got to leave right now. And they're just sad that they're leaving martial arts class. If that's the case, I want to know that as a program director. So that way I know it's nothing that we did. But if it's something that we did, we've got to make sure we nip that in the bud right now, because that goes back to what Ernie was saying, is it's those little things that happen incrementally that if we don't address it and take advantage of those opportunities to correct it, that student's gone. Ernie?
Yes, and I was a witness to it. When I first started working here, you were still in the school, and you were. I mean, whether you were talking with a parent, anybody walked in that school, he gave a wave or a hello. I mean, if he wasn't doing anything, he'd give him a little chat. Hey, how are you doing? And we've all been in those stores, welcome to Firehouse, welcome. It seems like everybody does it now, but it's like, to me, it's fake. I'd rather you not say anything if it don't mean anything. Because sometimes I'll walk into a store and somebody's like, oh, welcome in. And I'm like, what did they say? So it has to be genuine. Whoever's greedy, and you don't want to get caught into a long, drawn out process. Like, hey, how was your weekend? How's the car running? Because we've all had those parents that keep you, for 10, 20 minutes. Like,
can I just get something like an amen, a thumbs up? Do you have those parents that they'll just take 15, 20 minutes of your time? Not that you don't want to give them. Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of laughs here.
You can't get rid of them. And then they come into your office, and I don't know, Perri, you remember the guy, Bob Baldwin? He's still there.
Yeah.
He used to show up and his grandson wasn't even in class. And I'd be like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I was just at Publix. So I'd stop in, chit chat. I'm like, and I had a good enough, I just stand up and I just start walking towards the door. And he's like, you kicking me out? I'm like, Yes. Yeah.
By the way, Ernie can do some of these things that I wouldn't recommend everybody does, but he's got that rapport building with some people. But yeah, and there's two things with that. A, good job for having parents that are comfortable enough to do that with you. That means you're doing something right. You're creating that rapport, but it's okay to say, oh, excuse me, I got to do something. If you're seeing that the conversation is turning into just like, hey, let me tell you what happened the other day. We want to avoid that, right? All right, move on. So program directors also need to make sure every family member feels like they matter. Build rapport by making your way around the lobby and being the mayor of your studio, shaking hands and kissing babies. Be accessible in case anybody needs help with their program, equipment, special events, or just general questions. Be the life of the party and make them feel welcome. I think a lot of times program directors, and I say program directors, but it's anybody in that office role. I think sometimes they feel that it's just what I do is I sign people up, I get people enrolled, and I just work the numbers. But I'm a big believer that aspect of the team is so important to be that extra rapport builder within the school. The martial arts instructor is typically going to be the hero, right? They're going to be the one that's the Superman that's going out there and saving the day. If a parent says, "Hey, can you talk to my child because he got in trouble at school?" It's the instructor that's going to do that. But that program director, that role of creating rapport with the families is so important, because when you do finally sit down to talk numbers, I don't want them to feel that I'm only going to talk to them when it comes time for me to ask them for some money. Hey, can you slap down your credit card? That's the worst thing that we can do in that office role, is just be the cash collector. You know what I mean? So rapport is huge and developing that rapport with the families with the program director role. With the students, greet each student that walks in the studio. Rapport with the students and program directors is just as important as it is between the instructors, like I was just saying. Be another reason why the students want to stay. Just like with the families, be the energy off of the floor that's contagious and brings people back for more. Do you guys have anybody who's just a team, any one of your team members that they just have that energy, that spark? Hopefully. No? Yes. Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. We want everybody to have that, but the program director in particular has to bring that energy to where, let's say, again, this is when things come back to normal, but when I have the instructor teaching something cool on the floor and that child does something really well, I walk up to the parent, man, Mr. Smith, did you see that just now? Give him a big round of applause. That's awesome. As a program director, I'm not teaching anything. I'm just getting them engaged. And it's so, so important that we do that. Hey, by the way, I'm looking at some of these messages here. Shelby said, in baseball, instructor would be the catcher. Only one with eyes on the entire field makes the calls. Yeah, sure. Simogen, did it help with people coming in late because they didn't want attention on them or being late? Remind me what you're asking me there. It may have been in reference to something I said earlier. Welcome to Moe's. Yes. Welcome to Moe's. You ever walk into a Moe's? Yeah, that's that same idea. I get stuck all the time. They're too comfortable with chatting with me. Connecting with the kids is easy. I have a few of those parents who lock themselves in the corner and are unapproachable. Hey, listen, saying that again, do you have these parents? I'm just going to put all eyes on me real quick. Speaker. All right. Do you have these parents who are always on their phone or on their laptop and they're not necessarily paying attention? Give me a thumbs up or a yes, a nod. All right. Mr. Metzger, this is back when I was at Oviedo, sent Nick Peterman over to my school because they were talking about culture and how we got a good culture over there. And so he came in Nick Peterman, if you guys don't know, he's the chief operations director for the Championship Martial Arts School. So he does trainings for the instructors, does trainings for the program directors. He's awesome, right? But we're talking maybe 6 years ago, came over and he just kind of assisted class just to see how things go. And afterwards, he said to me, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you just told that parent to close her laptop while classes was going on. I was like, yeah, she wasn't paying attention. And he goes, well, you know, I had the rapport with that family member to where I could do that. I say, hey, it was Mrs. Brandy Zaralik. Mrs. Zaralik, please close your laptop. I want you to check this out. Watch Colby, what he's doing. And she was cool with it because I let her do her thing every once in a while. But when it comes time to something specific, you let them know. But we've got to make sure the common theme in your school is your parents are engaged. That's the instructor that helps with that, and the program directors help as well. Pay attention to your child. Yes. Ms. Fulkerson, some of our parents send the kids to the floor for class and plop down on their phone. Yeah, guys, it's our society, right? We know that. That's what it is. Majority of people that's their comfort zone. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can dive in and look at my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, and I'm good to go. Give them a couple seconds, but let's reel them in and make it almost impossible to look at that phone because what's going on the mat is so engaging. Assistants, program directors, simply put, make sure they're doing everything that needs to be done. Watch the class from the perspective of a parent and make it a point that the students are getting the attention they need. All right, I'm going to do a little demonstration here. Tell me if you recognize this. Good job. What am I doing right now? Somebody unmute themselves and tell me what I just did. Somebody can help me out.
You're not the
Assistant instructor said
supervisor.
that.
You're the assistant.
Okay, Aubrey Sheets, you tell me first. Go ahead. What?
You're not the supervisor. You're an assistant. Get out there and assist.
A lot of times it's a confidence thing with the assistants, right? It's not necessarily that they feel like I'm just gonna sit here and watch everybody. It's that they don't know what to do and they feel like they don't have it's not their place to do it. Again, this is where the program director and the instructor come in, and we've got to guide them, we've got to coach them, we've got to make them feel more comfortable about that position that they're in. All right, it's one of my biggest pet peeves is seeing that instructor just sit at the line or sit and just stare at people. What are you doing? What are you doing? Be active. You got to be engaged. All right. All right. I shake that out a little bit. Ernie, do you have anything else to add on that besides what my what are you doing?
I like that. What are you doing? No, it's clear. But and a lot of times, you know, the assistant may not have the confidence to because they haven't been steered right. But give them expectations for the day. When you have that 5-minute chit chat, say, hey, I have these students, or even in the beginning of the class, I have this student, this student, this student. I want you to focus on them. This kid's having this trouble. Give them specific tasks so they know what to do. If they're standing on the sideline, they're scared. You know, they don't know what to do, and they're just like, oh, you know. And I came from a strict, very strict school. You weren't allowed to be in the front. You couldn't cross paths with the instructor. Things like there's all these set of rules. So you ended up kind of just standing there like, well, what am I supposed to do? You know,
Frozen. Yeah.
Let them freely and let them give them some direction, even during the class. You know, you can even stop the class. All right, guys, give me 20 jumping jacks. Quick, go, count loud. And then you pull them and say, hey, I need you to blah, 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 blah. Give them constant direction. Kind of what I do with the Perri in the office.
He does. He's constantly giving me direction. So, and so that's what on the instructor side of things, but the program director, you have that ability too. So if you're noticing something, just let them know and do it in a positive way, because anytime you start hammering down on people, Ernie, anytime you start hammering down on people, they're not going to be as receptive to it, right? So you've got to let them know, hey guys, we have an awesome opportunity. Johnny, I don't know why it's always Johnny, but Johnny, he's on our upgrade list. We got to make sure you give him the attention. If you see him doing something great, make sure you give him a high five and let him know. You know, might as well let mom know too that he's doing a good job on whatever that is specifically that we're working on. If for class they're working on shrimp drills, talk about that, especially if he was having trouble on something and then he's turned the corner. We've got to make sure we tell our assistants, whether off the mat or on the mat, tell our assistants what to look for and how to make that impact in the school. Moving forward. So now we have our assistant instructors. Their biggest focus isn't necessarily, depending on the level of assistant you've got in your class. You may have some high level assistants, like in our structure is we have a chief instructor, we have a senior instructor, then we have our assistant instructors after that. So maybe you've got a senior instructor that you trust to be on top of nominations or upgrades or anything like that. They can hold their chief instructor accountable. That's okay. We should be in an environment where it's okay to hold each other accountable in a positive way. But the assistants, for the most part, they're going to be focusing on the students and the parents. So assistants, you're the extra set of eyes for the head instructor on the floor, where the program director is the extra set of eyes off of the floor. The students are the extra set of eyes on the floor. Make sure you're following their direction while being proactive, keyword proactive, with the students. Praise, encourage, and educate as many students as you can. Remember that even though you aren't leading the class, you hold such a great power to influence each student's day in a positive way. I'm going to say that line one more time. Even though you aren't leading the class, you hold such a great power to influence each student's day in a positive way. I don't think, as a whole, and I'm speaking for myself, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. If you think you do, then great. But I don't think we empower our assistants enough or give them the direction to make them realize that it's not my show. This is our show that we're putting on right now for the students and for the parents. And you're an integral part to that. And every little thing that you do, you got to realize if a white belt student comes into the school, sees you as the assistant, guess who they're probably going to be looking towards? If I'm busy teaching the class, it's going to be you. You're that example. You're that leader that we've got to, you're the product. At the end of the day, that's what we're selling. So they've got to be that person where a parent says, oh my gosh, how old is that kid? He's only 16. He's so mature. Have you ever heard that before? Because we set them up the right way, right? And so let them know that what every single thing that they do does matter, and it can hold tons of power in influencing that student in a positive or a negative way. And this is what we want. We want that positive manner. And lastly, before we go to a little more of a discussion here, parents, I want my assistants to develop that rapport with the parents, because again, it shows that final product. If I have I'm saying 16, but 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that's out on the floor, and again, the assistants could be older than that too, right? It doesn't have to be, but I'm just saying, let's say it's a teenager, and they're able to have a conversation about how that child's improving or that student's improving with a parent. That's so powerful, so powerful. So let me just say here, parents, in addition to that, take the time to create rapport with the families in the lobby as well. Let the parents know how their child's doing. By showing that you care, you instantly gain credibility in that parent's eyes. I can't tell you how many times I'm using this because my parents have told me that, I came up with martial arts since I was a kid. I started at 7 years old, went through the stages, then was on the SWAT team, and then my first job ever, and really only job ever, was in the martial arts. I jumped in, and my part-time job in high school was teaching martial arts classes, and then the rest is history, right? But my dad said, Mike, he's always told me, Michael, I'm so proud of you, because I can't tell you how many parents have come up to me and say, is Michael your son? This is when I was a teenager. Man, I hope my child turns out to be like him one day. He's got confidence. He's respectful, so mature for his age. Little did they know. But that's what we want every single one of our assistants to be, is to be that person that the parents look to as that example of what they want the child to become, whether it's more confident, they have the ability to defend themselves, be in their best physical shape that they can, have more focus, concentration, self-discipline. Those are the things that every parent's looking for their child, and we got to make sure that we, again, give our assistants that ability to be empowered and let them know that they truly do hold an influence in your school. So with that being said, let me just go over these last questions here. I'm missing out on a bunch of them. A couple who drop them off on grocery shopping. My guys do that too, but they have their arms folded. Oh, you're talking about this one, yeah. Have the arms folded instead of crossed in front. She walks over to them, stand in front of them, and just so they see what they're doing. Good, yeah. Just let them know, guys. It's so easy to get caught into that stance. And for me, it was for the assistants to know that they did not need my permission to help a student. That's great, Mr. McGraw. Yeah, yeah. If they see something, give them. And this is where training comes into play. So, with that being said, guys, you've got all of these things. And by the way, let me post the link so you truly do have it so you can access this. We'll also post this in the group. But it's just a Google Doc, a Google Drive folder. Copy link. I'm going to put it in the chat box here. And then we're also going to add it to the Facebook group. But share this with your team. What I did with you guys today, I would do with your team. Have a sit down. Let's grab a couple pizzas, get some bottled waters and or soda, whatever you want, or go somewhere, and let's just talk about and this can be such an empowering talk for your team members, and to let them know that hey, they really do have a big role in this in your school, and share your goals with them. Let them know why we want to have more students or why we want to grow the school, because it gives us the ability to influence and impact our communities in such a greater way when we're doing the things the right way. Everyone does that make sense? Questions, comments, concerns, feedback. Ernie's going to say something. No, he's not. He's messing with me.
Kidding. No, it's very, and back to the assistants. And this is a pet peeve I have, and I even tell our schools, don't just give the assistants jobs you don't want to do. Work with a student that's a little rougher, or clean the bathrooms, clean the windows. They're you got to make sure you're grooming these people to make sure they want to be an instructor. And I know sometimes a lot of people feel, well, you gotta, we had to mop the floors and things like that when I came up. Well, that's all right for them to help, but don't give them that their only job, taking trash out, things like that. Make sure they're part of the team. They have a voice in it as well. It's an open door policy. Anybody can say, I have this idea, and make sure it's creative.
Who was at the elite event in Orlando back in February? You remember when Mr. Parman went over the rights and responsibilities? That I'm telling you, that right there is powerful, and understanding the rights we have as a team member and what our responsibility is. And if you're not sure about what I'm talking about, let me know, and I think I've got a screenshot of it, because I sent it to Mr. Peterman, who wasn't at the event, and he talked to the team about that immediately. But we all have a right as a team member. We have a responsibility. And for example, let's say we have the right to debate. We have the right to voice our opinion and debate, but we also have the right, the responsibility to, once we come up with a decision, we got to rally around that decision as a whole, right? So those are the type of things that we've got to make sure the team understands. But yeah, give everybody a voice, let everyone feel like they're part of the process. And at the end of the day, if we do that, our team's just going to be stronger. Now, I will say this, you guys will do this, and you'll get started, you'll have your meeting, or you start focusing on these things next week, let's say. It'll be part of the routine for a little bit, but unless we constantly revisit this and put it somewhere and make it visible, it's going to get swept under the rug. You've got to make this something that you revisit with your team. I'll leave that up to you. Once a week, once a month. I wouldn't go more than that, but we've got to revisit these things to make sure that we're all on the same page. And here's what I would also do is ask your team, how are we doing with the community? How am I doing with my communication with you guys? Then let them ask the question, how am I doing with my communication with you? Let's have that dialogue to where everybody is really open and truly seeing, Ernie's rolling his eyes, truly seeing where we're at with things, and being open and honest.
I need to see you after this meeting, Perri.
Yes, sir. Please. Hold on. Let me no, I'm sorry. I can't do that. Time will not allow. Guys, any feedback, any questions? We took a suggestion from Adam Parman. We have a 3-ring binder with places for staff to leave messages for each other. That's a great idea. Great idea. There's a set designated area where you're gonna, this is where you need to check for messages for the team. Love it. Love it. Guys, does anybody else have anything like that? Oh, you know what? Let me check real quick on Facebook. I haven't been looking, see if anybody's asking questions there.
Yeah, going back to about the 3-ring binder, I used to take just a regular notebook because I hate Post-its. And some of the schools I've worked with, the program directors loved them. They'd have them all over the screen of the computer, and I'm just like, oh, it's driving me nuts. So what I did is I just had them. You want to write on a Post-it? I took it and I put it in a binder. So at the end of the night, everybody had to look at it because they were missing.
Yeah.
Even a parent would come in and say, oh, I need a new pair of nunchucks. The program director say, all right, we'll get it for you. And then they forget about it. And then 2 weeks from now, the parent's like, oh, did the nunchucks come in yet? And they're like,
right.
Oh, I forgot, And when I say program director, it was me. I forgot, So we've all been there. So this way, everybody has to check the book at the end, to see if there's anything that's changed or testing's changed or we need to get, whatever it is, everybody has to check at the end of the night.
Master Bolt, great question. How do you fix teams that forget to follow up and read the info to keep everyone on the same page? This goes back to what I said. You got to inspect what you expect, especially at that age level. You're going to find the diamonds in the rough that they're going to be great. They're going to be the most responsible ones you have, maybe even more responsible than your older team members, or maybe even yourself sometimes. But teenagers will sometimes drop the ball. You got to realize we're playing the long game with these guys, trying to groom, like Ernie said, groom them and train them to be the best versions of themselves. And they're gonna make mistakes sometimes, and we just got to let them know it's okay to make the mistake. But here's what we got to do to fix it. So at the end of the day, hopefully they make enough mistakes in your school to where you've corrected them and trained them all, and now they're able to get over that. Is there a quick fix? No, I don't think there is. Unless anybody has it, please let me know, and we can sell that for $199, I think, to martial arts schools, and we could make a good decent penny if we did that. But I don't think there's a quick fix, guys, for that. It's something that's going to just take working with it. Just like, how do you fix a front kick? How do you fix doing a spin hook kick? It doesn't just happen. We gotta keep teaching those lessons. The binders up front from repetition. Yeah, repetition. Yeah, who was that? Ms. Julie? Yeah, repetition. Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know I'm looking at a lot of faces. A lot of you guys already are using the MAIA Edge stuff. This isn't necessarily something that's on MAIA Edge. This is just something that we saw that you guys wanted to do. So this is something I pulled from a training that we did for our CMA schools, actually. Like I said, I say a few years back, but it was probably closer to 4, 5, 6 years back. Goodness gracious, time flies. But yeah, look, Shelby posted the link tree there. For anybody who's not on MAIA Edge already, guys, you can try it out for $1. Get a one-on-one with Ernie. That's in that link tree too. By the way, that goes for anybody. If anybody wants to set up a one-on-one with Ernie or any of the team, click on the link tree and it just takes you to our Calendly. If you're not familiar with Calendly, it just sets up a automatic Zoom meeting, and we put it in the calendar, and we'll sit there and go over any questions you may have. Ernie, anything else? Mr. Ho, good to see you, sir.
Hey, sorry so late.
That's all right. We're just about to wrap up, but you can catch the replay. It'll be in the group, the Facebook group, the free Zoom training one.
Sounds
Ernie,
good, and I know Aubrey attended, so thank you.
Okay, yeah, she did. She was awesome. Ernie, anything else you want to add at the end here?
No? Sounds
perfect. Good. All right.
Good to see everybody.
Thanks. Again, guys, if you're, go ahead, Shelby.
Yeah, I was going to say keep an eye out in that same Facebook group, because I think we may post another poll to see what the next topic's going to be for April, because we want to do one of these every month. So keep your eyes on that group.
Hey, let me ask you guys.
Just real quick, does anybody have anything, the audience we have here that they would like to see us to do? Any ideas? If you want to speak up, unmute yourself. Do it now.
Put him on the spot, Ernie.
I know. I like putting people on the spot.
Thanks, Mr. McKinney.
Mr. McKinney, best name in the world, Ernie.
Oh, I thought you meant McKinney. All right, guys. Well, if you do, chime in. We appreciate all of you guys. We'll see you soon. Hopefully we're enjoying these trainings. Like I said, something and we want to do. Thank you very much. Something we want to do every month. So we'll keep them coming, guys, if you keep joining us. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Thanks.